It's time for some insight to Israel. I'm your host, Natasha Kirchuk, and coming up, we'll get an inside look at what war in Israel can do to the wine that we drink. We'll explore the struggles that Israeli LGBTQ couples face when it comes to having children, and we'll investigate why dozens of street cats are disappearing in Jerusalem. When we think about war and conflict, we think about the people who are affected by it, but very little do we consider the impact that violence and war have on our earth. In Israel, a family-run winery experienced the impact of the Second Lebanon War in a way that you might not expect. Just check this out.
Welcome to Naaman Winery. We are the Naamans.
Naaman Winery has received more than 25 international awards, but this is the story of the war wine. 15 years ago, Bettina and Rami Naaman decided to move all the way up north to the Upper Galilee, where they opened their very own vineyard.
Kadesh Valley is one of the oldest places for growing grapes in the world. We have places for stepping over grapes carved in stone. Some of them are more than 6,000 years old.
But this region of Israel has a troubled history.
Not all the stories are beautiful stories.
No,
some of them are war stories. We are 4.5 kilometers from the border. We are very near Lebanon.
On a hot July day in 2006, 2 Israeli soldiers were abducted and taken to Lebanon by the terror group Hezbollah. It was this ambush that launched the Second Lebanon War.
During the wartime, there were fires all around because the Lebanese were firing rockets on our area. Many cannons of the Israeli army are shooting at them. The war ended on August 14, and on August 16, a huge black cloud arrived, and for 2.5 hours brought down 200 millimeters of rain, and all the smoke and all the gunpowder went into the ground and into the grapes. And when I harvested 2 weeks later,
He came home quite horrified, saying, the grapes hasn't...
smells like gunpowder and smoke. And what do I do with it? So Bettina told me, do your best and it will be okay. I didn't want to make a smoked wine, but the smoked wine was there.
And then I told Rami, we have to solve that wine because everybody knows that wine is telling a story. And we had here really a wine telling a story, the story of 2006 Lebanon War.
Today, there are only a couple of bottles of the wine left. Most of it has been sold across the world.
War is not affecting only people and soldiers. It's affecting plants and nature.
But no war will stop the Naamans, or let alone the Israelis, from continuing to make some of the finest wine on the planet. Wine is, after all, a reflection of our history. So what do you say to the people who say that wine is not really a product that should be coming from Israel? You know, it's a French product, it's an Italian product.
Yeah, they only learned from us, and it was only 3,000 years after we started making wine here. Who learned from who? Who started it all? We hope that this is the last time I'm making a wartime wine, and this is one of the last bottles, so we are very glad with that, and that's it.
Now get this, Israel may have found a way to diagnose Alzheimer's at a much earlier stage, and it's all thanks to MRIs. An MRI, or magnetic resonance imaging, does incredible work by giving doctors a better picture of what's happening on our insides. But now a team of researchers from the Hebrew University have found a way to use the machine to record changes in the biological makeup of the brain. Why does this matter, you ask? Well, doctors could compare brain scans taken over time from the same patient and then use those scans to differentiate between healthy and diseased brain tissue. This process could be used to understand whether or not a patient is developing a disease like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, or simply getting older. Plus, it's non-invasive and therefore less dangerous than procedures like brain tissue biopsies. Now, the new Israeli quantitative MRI model would provide biological readouts of brain tissue and be able to see what's happening at a molecular level so treatments can be assigned accordingly. But best of all, it means that patients will be able to receive correct diagnosis earlier on, which can mean everything when it comes to quality of life. Israel is considered the most LGBTQ-friendly country in the Middle East. 25% of Tel Aviv identifies as gay. LGBTQ citizens serve in major governmental positions, and the Israeli army in Israel even recognizes civil marriages between same-sex couples that are performed abroad. But for gay couples that want to start their own family in Israel, it isn't so simple. Check this out.
בואו למרכז. לא מאמין, הכל בסדר, הכל בסדר יפה שלי. הבית רעד, ואז יצאנו החוצה כולנו. כל הגוף שלי רועד. יאללה, עושים עוד ילד, קוש. שירה, את רוצה אח? אח או אחות, צ'וצ'ה? עושים עוד ילדה. עוד בן. עוד בת. בוא נראה מה יקרה.
Israel is considered the most LGBTQ-friendly country in the Middle East.
שיהיה מגוון, מה עכשיו, שתי נקבות? כן. אתה יודע איזה חפירות?
But here's the thing. When it comes to forming a family, it's not so simple for your average same-sex couple.
Shira was born in India, in Mumbai, and Maya was born in Kathmandu.
In fact, when girls from the kindergarten ask Shira, where's your mother or whatever, she tells, with pride, I have 2 dads.
Alon and Amir have 2 daughters, but it took them lots of money and time to make that happen. They opted for surrogacy, one of the few options that exist for gay couples that want to have children.
הופה, אתה רואה? זה כאילו שני השבנים.
Surrogacy was the only option for us because we wanted a family of our own.
Surrogacy is a legal arrangement where a person or a couple pay a woman to become pregnant and give birth to their future child.
Israel is one of the first countries in the world that legalized surrogacy. It did it in 1996 already. Unfortunately, it only allowed heterosexual couples to go through surrogacy, and it wasn't changed since.
He's going! מה אמרו שאנחנו מדברים עם מי שנושאת ברחמה כרגע? כן. את הנסיכה?
We are very grateful to her for doing that thing for us.
Alright, namaste.
Namaste, thank you very much.
In Israel, gay men can't go through surrogacy, so they have to go abroad.
כולנו ניסע ביחד לנפאל, בנפאל לפגוש את החברה שלנו.
It is legal for gay couples in Israel to adopt, but very few Israeli children are given up for adoption. And even then, heterosexual couples are usually given priority. When it comes to adopting from abroad, it's nearly impossible for Israeli same-sex couples.
All the countries that Israel has agreement with are countries that do not allow gay or single men adopt. It's not a matter of Israeli policy. Israeli policy doesn't prohibit it, but the fact that Israel doesn't have an agreement with a country that does allow it.
All of the LGBTQ rights we have in Israel were not given to us by the government. They are achievements of the Israeli Supreme Court.
Of private people that did something.
Most of us here are gay men that have their own families, and we want to be sure that gay men in Israel have all the rights that they deserve.
For the last 13 years, the agency has brought around 850 babies to the world through surrogacy, primarily for gay couples based here in Israel.
How old is she?
She's 35.
35. You look younger.
How much money?
5. 5? 6? 4? No?
surrogacy is expensive.
Having a child can easily cost over $100,000, an investment that many gay couples in Israel have accepted as a fact that just won't change.
It's almost like buying a house now. It's like a mortgage. You need to take a loan for 10 years.
So many gay couples are turning into the path of joint parenthood, although some of them I know would like to have the surrogacy option, but they just can't afford it.
Today, there are online companies that help gay couples find women with whom they can have a baby and co-parent with. But not everybody is willing to give up the opportunity to raise their young one full-time.
תעשי.
כן, זה ככה כל הזמן. We just wanted to wake up to our children, not to raise them into separate homes.
וואי, הכי דומה לשירה, אימא'לה.
You look like you.
Looks like me?
The nose.
An estimated 79% of Israelis support same-sex marriages and families, but despite this, the Israeli government still rejected a bill that would have allowed same-sex couples to have children by surrogacy in Israel.
יפה שלי, אהובה שלי, קטנה שלי, מתוקה, הנה אבא.
Do you know our story? Our like what happened in Nepal?
In 2015, when the couple went to Nepal for the birth of their second daughter, a 7.9 magnitude earthquake struck.
אני ראיתי את זה קורה, כמו בסרטים האמריקאים, טיק 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 טיק.
זה הדבר הכי מסוכן, גם התנור דלק, וגם פה הייתה הריסה, והמזוודות פה למעלה.
Israel made all the efforts to bring us back. We are thankful for that. But people should not forget that all of this could have been prevented if we just could do the surrogacy here in Israel.
שיש לך, כשר הפנים, יש לך פה 7 אזרחים ואזרחיות חדשים.
שלום למשפחה שלי, לאבא שלי שמתרגש. הכל בסדר, זהו, זה נגמר.
ברוכה הבאה, מה יאללה?
ברוכה הבאה הביתה.
Israel actually has the highest rate of gay families per capita in the world. Unfortunately, we are tied up in a coalition system in which the religious parties have a lot of power that affects the actual legislation that we have in Israel.
People always say that gay couples should not have kids. I think that parenthood is not about gender. Parenthood is about intent. Our intention is pure and is so strong. This is the thing that I am most proud of, that these two girls, they are our lives.
Have you ever driven by a farm and been overwhelmed by that sickly odor? You know, cow manure at its freshest and its finest? Well, cow patties may be offensive to our noses, but they're also a big problem for our Earth. Worldwide, the gases emitted by livestock account for between 15 to 18% of human-induced greenhouse gas emissions. And now an Israeli company has figured out how to take the stinky stuff and turn it into clean energy. Meet SG Tech, an Israeli company that's turning cow manure into biogas. Biogas is a great source of fuel, and although it does leave a carbon footprint on the environment, it still significantly reduces agricultural emissions. So just so you understand how much biofuel could be made out of cow manure, well, it's estimated that the waste produced by livestock in the U.S. alone is enough to create 108.8 billion kilowatt hours of energy. And doing so would only emit about 70 million metric tons of greenhouse gases. So to put that into perspective, if you were to create the same amount of electricity from coal, it would result in about 110 million metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions. Now in Israel, agricultural emissions make up about 2.8% of the country's total emissions, but SG Tech could help implement the use of biogas more widely. The livestock waste that Israel produces would only provide about 7% of the country's energy, but it's a start. So no, SG Tech isn't the first company to use cow waste as a source of fuel, but they do claim to be one of the first to make the process significantly faster and cleaner. Today, most conventional methods for biogas take a lot of time and produce large amounts of wastewater or digestate. In Israel, agricultural emissions make up about 2.8% of the country's total emissions, but SG Tech could help implement the use of biogas more widely. The livestock waste that Israel produces would only provide about 7% of the country's energy, but hey, it's a start. No, SG Tech isn't the first company to use cow waste as a source of fuel, but they do claim to be one of the first to make the process significantly faster and cleaner. Today, most conventional methods for biogas take a lot of time and produce large amounts of wastewater or digestate. The digestate can't be thrown into the sewage system because it could collapse water treatment facilities, but it's too costly to purify. So SG Tech says they have the only complete solution that gets rid of the need to treat digestate after biofuel has been created. Now the company is planning to implement its system in 10 cowsheds across Israel and the world by the end of 2020. So we'll just have to wait and see how much manure they can take on. Now there's a real catastrophe taking place in Jerusalem right now, and I'm emphasizing the cat for a reason. Locals have been taking to social media to express concern over the recent disappearance of street cats across the city. And joining us with more is ILTV's very, very concerned Aaron Porras. Aaron.
Yeah, and I knew this was going to happen, by the way. I've said it for quite some time, and I have a theory, but let's start with some of the hard facts.
All right, let's. So there are an estimated 2 million street cats in Israel, right?
Yeah, and it's been a problem really ever since the British brought cats over to Israel, which was then, mandatory Palestine in the first half of the 20th century. And they wanted to combat the rat problem, but the cat population quickly became out of control. So Israel has actually been trying to figure out a solution to decrease the numbers, but it hasn't been a simple journey.
Well, there are municipal vet services that carry out trap, neuter, and rescue programs where they essentially catch cats and they spay them to prevent the population from growing, of course.
True, but one thing is to, spay or neuter a cat, and then it's another thing to, for a cat to entirely disappear, which is what's going on. So, some Jerusalemites are speculating that cats are being put down or otherwise ingesting poison, and others are saying that the cats are, going missing, that they're friendly neighborhood cats, and that's why they're used to people, which is why they're more easy to catch. But again, that implies that someone may be catching them. And then there's actually another theory that someone is being paid to trap cats and transfer them from one neighborhood to another.
So it's strange that this would be happening now, since recently the Jerusalem mayor outlined an initiative to set up 100 cat feeding stations around the city, since more and more trash cans are being moved underground, and a lot of these cats actually survive off of those bins.
Yeah, also it's strange because, a reporter at the Jerusalem Post allegedly reached out to the Jerusalem Municipality Vet Services for comment on this issue, but the spokesperson said that they are not aware of any mass disappearances.
Still, though, the Jerusalem Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals is saying that a rescue worker there is claiming that around at least 50 cats have disappeared in the past year. That's a lot of cats.
All right, well, of course, we are hoping that this isn't something sinister. After all, the hot summer heat could just mean that cats are trying to find cool places to escape the heat and are only coming out at night. After all, they're nocturnal. Or maybe, the government is just finally listening to my idea and they've started shipping cats off to Cat Island.
Cat Island.
Yes, Cat Island. It's a plan that I've been working on for quite some time, let me tell you.
Lord.
And basically it goes like this, right? Man-made islands are far from a new concept, and Israel has already actually been grappling with building an island off the coast of Gaza. So my plan is basically to appropriate that, to build an island off the coast of central Israel where we can gather the nation's street cats. Then you just let a few people move onto the island as caretakers, but what you get is a new tourist attraction, similar to those that you might find in Japan, which in turn creates a whole new economy. We're talking jobs for contractors, cat caretakers, restaurateurs who are on the island, and much, much more. Also, extra beachfront housing, and of course, again, a draw for tourists. So Israel, Cat Island, get on it.
Wow, Aaron, I think that you should just join the government and start, proposing policies like this.
I'm telling you, it's genius.
Oh my God. Well, on that note, we're going to end this story. Aaron, thank you so much for your contribution. How good are you at math? You're probably not as good as these teenagers in our next story. 6 Israeli high schoolers have just taken home medals for their outstanding performance at the 60th International Mathematical Olympiad. Yes, this is a real event. Every year, students from 112 different countries compete to show off their math skills, and trust me, you don't want to even take a stab at some of the questions they're dealing with. In fact, I didn't, and I don't think I ever will. Anyhow, overall, Israelis finished in 15th place, which is pretty exciting for such a tiny little country. Ido Kalshon from Nataf took home a gold medal, 3 more high schoolers took home silver medals, and 2 more took home the bronze. Not bad, Israel, not bad. Now, the Israeli competitors are all members of the Future Scientist Center, which is a program for gifted students that is supported by the Education Ministry and the National Cyber Bureau of the Prime Minister's office. But get this, it looks like Israeli teens aren't just winners at math. A mere week ago, Israelis won 2 gold, 2 silver, and 1 bronze at the 50th International Physics Olympiad, which was held in Tel Aviv for the first time in history. All right, it's time for What is Trending with our very own Nittany Mins. And so, Nittany, what is going viral this week?
Hey, Natasha, 2 words, Gal Gadot. That's it.
Yeah, of course. It's always Gal Gadot. What is new with Israel's Wonder Woman? I feel like she's always trending.
Yeah, Natasha, obviously. At this point, she is basically Israeli royalty. This time, though, it looks like she's going to be playing Wonder Woman again, only this time a real-life Wonder Woman. Gadot will be featured in a new mini-series on Showtime as actress and inventor Hedy Lamarr.
So tell us a bit about who Hedy Lamarr is, because she's been in previous movies, but this is new, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. So back in the 1930s, Hedy Lamarr was this stunning beauty who came to Hollywood from Europe. She worked with top stars like Judy Garland, Clark Gable, the like. And she was known for major films in the 40s like Ziegfeld Girls and Boomtown.
But from what I understand, it wasn't actually her acting that made her so distinguished. It was one of her inventions, right?
That's right. She actually patented a device that has literally become the foundation for modern Wi-Fi technology. Like, no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal at all. So Gal Gadot obviously has a lot on her plate when it comes to portraying this power woman.
She definitely does. The series, which hasn't been named yet, will be looking at feminism during Hollywood's golden age and World War II through Lamarr's work. So there's definitely a lot of groundbreaking material to cover.
It's funny because it seems like Gal Gadot is almost always cast in these power women roles as some sort of symbol of feminism. It's really exciting, honestly.
Yeah. And last month it was actually announced that she'll also be starring in the biggest feature film ever made by Netflix.
Right.
It's going to be called Red Notice. She'll be acting alongside Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson. It should be a crazy ride.
Yeah, and the action thriller is actually set to come out in late 2020, so we have some time, but it's centered around the pursuit of the most wanted art thief in the world. And as for this new Showtime series, it's not clear when it's going to be coming out, but at least we have another Gal Gadot experience ahead of us. Thanks for joining us, Nittany.
My pleasure.
All right, my friends, that's it for today's episode of Insight to Israel. I'm Natasha Kirchak, and keep on smiling.